Hey everyone, so congratulations on getting into the Community College PhD Scholars Program or the CCS Community College Study Scholars Program. So before I go over the program syllabus, and I kind of want to explain and give a quick background about our program so that everyone's on the same page. So first I want to talk about the motivations for starting this program. So the research suggests that community college alumni are underrepresented within the PhD student body, within PhD recipients, and as a consequence, within the professoriate. So this research database states that 49% of baccalaureate earners previously attended community college, yet only 13% of doctorate recipients previously attended community college. So we see a huge drop-off, right? So why might that be? There are several reasons why community college alumni are underrepresented, but I just want to focus on specifically when community college students transfer, after they transfer. So they face various research barriers as community college transfer students, and they also face PhD preparation behaviors as PhD preparation barriers as transfer students. So to go over the research barriers, first, as you guys all know from first-hand experience, community college students have less access to research opportunities compared to freshmen and sophomores at four-year colleges. And then these research barriers continue to persist even after community college students transfer. So many undergraduate research programs at four-year colleges have application requirements or application timelines that are not transfer receptive, and they put transfer students at a severe disadvantage compared to their non-transfer applicants, non-transfer counterparts. And then there's some research that suggests that professors and administrators discriminate against community college transfer students. And then in terms of PhD preparation barriers, Martha Rivis's research suggests that transfer students are not receiving PhD preparation information from their four-year college. And those that do receive PhD preparation information complained that the PhD preparation information is geared towards like traditional non-transfer students. So in other words, they were saying like, oh, how come the PhD preparation information couldn't be more inclusive of community college students or transfer students, right? And then some of her research participants actually reported that they found that PhD prep program directors and staff members discriminated against transfer students. And then again, like I mentioned previously, not a lot of transfer students receive PhD prep information from their four-year college, but those that did often received it during their senior year. And this is problematic because it was often too late for transfer students to prepare a competitive PhD application during their senior year, because that's often when people apply for PhD programs during their senior year in December, January, February, right? So it's very, very difficult, if not impossible, to prepare a selected PhD application in 1 quarter or 1 semester. It often takes about 2 years if you want to be a very selected PhD applicants. So again, you need to take their necessary prerequisite courses, you need to study and do well in the GRE, you need to get involved in research, and you need to establish very strong relationships with the recommenders, right? But I think a lot of you guys are wondering, well, why not just take a gap year, right? Why didn't these transfer students take a gap year, prepare again, and then apply next year? Well, as you guys know, community college students and transfer students skew older. So her participants reported that, like, I feel really old. I perceive myself to be old, and I perceive that I can't take another year off. I need to do it right away, right? So that's why it's problematic. So there's various reasons why improving the community college to PhD pipeline is significant, but I'll just focus on one particular point. So like I mentioned previously, we know that professors hold negative stereotypes about community college transfer students. And I know that many of you guys, as well as many other PhD recipients, they want to go into academia, right? So whether that be a professor or an administrator or a staff member, right? So again, professors hold negative stereotypes about community college transfer students, and that these negative perceptions may actually exacerbate the leaky community college to PhD pipeline. So professors resist development of community college course articulation agreements, they advocate for restrictive transfer admissions policies, they're unwilling to mentor transfer students, and then they disfavor graduate school applicants who are community college alumni. So we started this program, the CC to PhD Association, more specifically the CC to PhD Scholars and the CCS Scholars Program, in hopes of addressing this particular stage in the pipeline, which is the beginning of the junior year. So stated another way, we're really hoping to prepare community college students so that once they do transfer, they're able to hit the ground running, prepare for PhD programs, and get involved in research right away instead of waiting to get started during their senior year. So our program goals, in the short term, we're really hoping to increase community college students' self-reported research capabilities, increase their PhD preparation knowledge, and decrease community college students' internalized community college stigma. And then in the long term, we're really hoping to diversify the PhD student body with PhD students who are community college alumni. So I know like you guys are wondering, well, that's a huge jump from point A to point B, David. So what happens in the middle? So that's what we're going to be talking about in the future slides. So our first outcome of interest is research capabilities. So I'm going to be talking about the program theory of change. And essentially what that means is that a theory of change explains how program activities are understood to produce a series of results that contribute to the program's final intended impacts. So the theory of change as illustrated through if-then statements for the research capabilities, and I apologize, I'm just going to read it verbatim. So if we provide community college students with research training, independent research opportunities, and assistance preparing undergraduate research program application materials, then community college students will produce stronger undergraduate research program applications/proposals once they transfer. Then community college transfer students are more likely to get accepted for undergraduate research programs, research assistantships, and or faculty mentoring for independent research. Then community college transfer students will have stronger PhD application because according to Julie Possett's research, having undergraduate research experience and research experience in general is a vital criteria within PhD admissions. So a second outcome of interest is PhD preparation knowledge. So again, the theory of change is illustrated through if-then statements. If we provide community college students with PhD prep workshops and assignments, then community college students will gain PhD preparation knowledge. Then community college transfer students will enact PhD preparation behaviors at their future four-year college. Then community college transfer students will have stronger PhD applications. In terms of our last outcome of interest, which is reducing community college stigma and increasing community college-related civic engagement, so literature suggests that community college transfer students experience transfer stigma, as I'm sure you've experienced yourself through firsthand experiences. And as a result of that, they often hide their transfer student status. So in other words, they don't tell people at their four-year college that they're a community college transfer student, right? And then there isn't a lot of research that's out there about community college students who have internalized community college stigma, but some scholars speculate that community college transfer students and professors and staff who were community college alumni can actually internalize community college stigma and exhibit anti-community college behaviors, right? So I think a lot of you guys are wondering, well, how's that possible, right? Because if you're a community college student, how is it possible for you to stigmatize other community college students, right? So I'll give you an example. So like I'm gay, right? So I identify as gay, and I just know that that I internalize a lot of homophobic behaviors, and then I would actually exhibit anti-gay behaviors towards other gay people, right? So it is possible, right? So again, just because you're a community college transfer student doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be like this quote unquote transfer champion or promote transfer receptive policies, right? But there's some promising interventions that are out there to reduce community college stigma, and one of them is being exposed to research presentations on community college equity issues. So my theory of change for community college stigma and community college related civic engagement is that if we provide community college students with research presentations on community college equity issues, then community college students will have reduced internalized community college stigma. Then community college students are more likely to participate in community college related civic engagement as they become transfer students and PhD students. Then once students become professors or administrators, they're more likely to advocate for policies that promote community college student success or promote transfer sending culture, promote a transfer receptive culture, right? Okay, great. So let's move on to our program syllabus. But before we move on to the program syllabus, I have a couple of notes to make sure that we all have realistic expectations about what this program can achieve. So first, this is an introductory level social science research program. So if you've been in a social science research methods course, or if you've done research, or if you were in a previous research program, then some of the materials that we cover in our Saturday Academies might be redundant for you. This is also an introductory level PhD preparation program. So if you were in a PhD prep program before, again, this might be redundant for you. And I just want to say that this program, it serves multiple students, and it's going to be impossible for this one program to be a 100% perfect match for every single student in the program, right? So for example, this program that's geared very broadly for the social sciences is not going to be a perfect fit for an anthropology major who's interested in studying Native American tribal communities, for example. And it's not going to be a perfect fit for a sociology major who's interested in studying social movements, right? Or it's not going to be a perfect fit for a psychology major who's thinking about going into clinical psychology as a PhD program, right? So again, just remember that this program is serving multiple students, right? And then finally, second to the last thing I want to say is that you get out of this experience what you put into it. So obviously, like if you put little effort into it, you're not going to get that much out, right? As compared to a student who's really committed, who's attending the Saturday Academies and is paying attention to the Saturday Academies and is putting a lot of effort into their research project and putting effort into their PhD preparation, right? And then obviously, again, if you're like, oh, wow, this, like I'm not feeling the whole introductory level thing, the expectation is that you go on to a more advanced level research and PhD program after you transfer. Okay, so this is the CC to PhD and CCS Scholars Program syllabus. Just note that the syllabus is subject to change. And if it does change, I'll post an updated one in our Facebook group page. And I'll also send out an email. In terms of the table of contents, just to provide a quick outline of the syllabus, it lists the Saturday Academy policies, the monthly assignment policies, the meeting policies, my optional office hours, how to use Zoom, program evaluation policies, causes for dismissal, scholars program funding, Facebook group policies, research project policies, and monthly assignment timeline. And what's really cool about this Word doc in this PDF is that if you click on the table of contents, it'll actually like take you to the part where you're interested in. So in terms of Saturday Academy policies, the Saturday Academy videos and PowerPoints will be uploaded within 3 days of each subsequent Saturday Academy, and it's going to be posted on this webpage. So our next Saturday Academy is December 2nd, so it should be posted online on December 5th. In terms of our attendance policy for the Saturday Academies, our old policy was really strict. I initially said that you need to arrive 45 minutes before the first presentation is scheduled to begin and stay back 30 minutes after the last presentation is scheduled to end. I also said that you need to physically attend 5 out of 8 entire Saturday Academies for it to count. So our previous policy was really strict. So if you're even 1 minute late, then the entire Saturday Academy wouldn't count, right? And that's like way too harsh and it's unrealistic. So we changed some of our policies to make it more feasible. So instead of counting entire Saturday Academies, we're counting it by individual presentations. So you must physically attend at least 15 individual Saturday Academy presentations. So what does that mean, right? So let me just show you to the schedule. So an individual presentation is just this. So I highlighted Introduction to Survey Methods by Dr. Jose Felipe Martinez. So if you arrive on time and you don't leave early to this presentation, then you would get attendance credit for this single presentation. So you essentially just need to attend 15 of these individual presentations on time and don't leave early, right? So you attend 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, right? So let's move back to our Word doc. Okay, so to receive Saturday Academy attendance credit for an individual presentation, you must meet 2 conditions. You must arrive on time and you can't leave early. So let's elaborate. So first, the students must arrive on time, i.e., and we define on time as arriving when the presentation is scheduled to begin. So if a presentation is scheduled to begin at 3 p.m., then you need to arrive by 3 p.m. for your attendance to count. So let's give another scenario. Let's say the presentation is scheduled to begin at 3 p.m. You arrive at 3:02 p.m. and the speaker begins talking at 3:04 p.m. because maybe the speaker was running late, right? Because you arrived at 3:02, you are still considered late because you didn't arrive by the time the presentation was scheduled to begin, right? Second, you cannot leave before the presentation actually ends. Scholars are expected to stay back 15 minutes after the presentation is scheduled to end, if needed, right? So this 15 minutes is to account for presentations that might start late or for presenters who go overtime. So let's just assume, like, if they end on time, then you can leave. But if they go overtime, then you are expected to stay back up to 15 additional minutes. So let's just give an example. Let's say a presentation is scheduled to end at 11 a.m. You may be expected to stay back 15 minutes past the scheduled end time in case the presenter goes overtime. So let's say the speaker does goes overtime past his scheduled end time. He ends at 11:10 a.m., but you leave at 11 a.m. Your attendance would not count for this presentation because you didn't wait until the presentation actually ended. Again, you're expected to stay back as needed up to 15 minutes after the presentation is scheduled to end. Okay, so some other attendance policies. Scholars do not need to arrive early to set up, arrive at the start of check-in, or stay back to clean up. For example, for the December Saturday Academy, we have check-in from 9:30 to 10 a.m. So that's when check-in happens. And our first presentation starts at 10 a.m. So you don't need to attend check-in. So you don't need to arrive at 9:30, right? You just need to arrive by 10 a.m., right? To check your attendance credit, you should always email me to make sure that you're like on track, right? Because I may not like warn you if you're like running low on attendance credits, right? So it's up to you to make sure that you're on top of your attendance. The other thing that I want to say is please be responsible with arriving on time. So, especially when you're in programs like this or when you're attending class, you always have to consider time for commuting, time for getting stuck in traffic, possibly getting lost, finding parking, walking to the building when planning your commute time. So for me, whenever I'm like commuting, so I used to commute, I live in Garden Grove, or I used to live in Garden Grove, and that's like close to like Disneyland, and I would commute to Orange Coast, I would commute to Santa Monica College, and I would also commute to Pasadena City College, and that's like an hour commute with like no traffic, and then like 2-hour commute with traffic. So I always left 2 hours early because I always assumed that I was going to run into traffic, and I always wanted to make sure that I got to my classes on time, right? So again, you should always assume that you're going to run into LA traffic, and you should always take into consideration these other things that are going to lengthen your commute time. So again, possibly getting lost, finding parking, and walking to the building, right? And of course, it's kind of inconvenient because like sometimes you arrive early, right? Like 30 minutes early or maybe even an hour early, but it's better to arrive early than to be late and to be stressed out that you're late, right? In terms of another thing that I want to point out about the Saturday Academy is that we are making some updates, but then I believe that these updates are reasonable. So first, I'm in the process of extending lunch breaks from 45 minutes to 1 hour. And the reason why is that, I noticed that a lot of the scholars don't have enough time to walk to the cafeteria, order food, eat the food, and then walk back in time within 45 minutes. So I'm pushing the lunch break from 45 minutes to 1 hour. So hopefully you guys have enough time. So that means that the Saturday Academies will end 15 minutes later than originally planned. So let me scroll down. So for example, if a Saturday Academy was originally scheduled from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m., then it would be extended to 1 p.m. to 6:15 p.m. And you would need to stay back an additional 15 minutes because again, remember that policy just in case the speaker goes overtime. So again, if it was originally scheduled from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m., then it would be extended to 1 p.m. to 6:15 p.m., but you would actually need to stay till 6:30 p.m. if needed. So I just want to emphasize this. This shouldn't feel unfair, right? Because I definitely don't want to spring things up on you. I don't want to bring up standards and assignments that were not made clear at the beginning of the program. But this shouldn't feel unfair because the previous policy was that you needed to stay back 30 minutes after the last presentation is scheduled to end. So for example, if the Saturday Academy was scheduled to end at 6 p.m., you were expected to stay back till 6:30 p.m. So it's still the same time commitment, right? So again, it shouldn't feel unfair. I'm adding one additional presentation on February 10th, and this presentation is optional, but should give you an extra opportunity to meet the 15 Saturday Academy presentation attendance minimum. Again, it's optional. So an up-to-date Saturday Academy schedule is always going to be posted on this website. In terms of RCP, let me just scroll down. We expect scholars to RCP for each Saturday Academy you plan to attend. And why is this important? This gives us, this kind of allows us to make room changes if necessary. So for example, if the RCP numbers are too small, let's say that there's only like 10 people that plan to attend and our room is like for 100 people, then I should probably change to a smaller room. Or if another scenario could be that the RCP numbers exceed the room capacity, then I would obviously need to book a bigger room, right? And again, the RCP link is always going to be at this web link. In terms of checking in, students need to check in upon arrival to each monthly CC to PhD Saturday Academy and must check out when leaving. So again, students just need to check in once upon arrival. Students do not need to check in multiple times throughout the day, right? They just need to check in once per Saturday Academy. So, but just keep in mind that CC2P HD event production assistants will take attendance at the start of each subsequent presentation. So they're going to have like a clipboard with everyone's pictures on it, and we're just using that to make sure that you stay, that after you check in, that you actually stay, and that you actually attend throughout the entire Saturday Academy, right? But again, you just need to check in once. So for example, in the February Saturday Academy, there are 4 presentations. Let's say you only attend the second and third presentation. You would need to check in once you arrive, so i.e. the second presentation, at the start of the second presentation. And you don't need to check in for the third presentation because you already checked in at the second presentation. And you don't need to check in for the third presentation again because the event production assistants will take role to make sure you're still at the Saturday Academy. Students need to check out once they leave the Saturday Academy. So let's use that same example. For example, in the February Saturday Academy, there are 4 presentations. Let's say you only attend the second and third presentation. You would only need to check out one when you plan to officially leave. So i.e. the third presentation. In terms of absences or lates, you don't need to notify me if you'll be late or late to if you will be absent or late to the Saturday Academies. If you are, but keep in mind that if you are absent from an individual presentation, you are required to watch the online recording and write a 150 minimum word summary. And these online viewings and written summaries will not count towards the 15 individual Saturday Academy presentation attendance requirement, because again, the attendance requirement is that you physically attend in person at least 15 individual presentations. And finally, in terms of our Saturday Academies, we have a no distractions policy. So just let me scroll down. So to reduce distractions and out of respect to the speaker, CC to PhD scholars and CCS scholars are not allowed to use laptops, cell phones, or other similar electronics during the presentation. Just keep in mind that there are people that attend the Saturday Academies that are outside of the Scholars Program, and they're welcome to use electronics. So to reiterate, scholars cannot use electronics. Random other people can use electronics. If you use your electronics are doing something else unrelated to the Saturday Academies, so for example, if you're reading a book for class, for a class outside of the Saturday academies, or you're doing community college homework, your attendance will not count and you'll be given a warning. So you always need to make sure that you're paying attention to the Saturday academy, right? If you accumulate enough warnings, then you will be dismissed from the program. So how do you take notes if you don't have a laptop, right? So instead, just take notes on like a notebook. And recall that the Saturday Academy videos and PowerPoints will be uploaded within 3 days of each subsequent Saturday Academy on this web link. So again, you don't need to take like vigorous notes on your laptop, and you don't need to take pictures on your phone. Everything's going to be uploaded online. Okay, so let's talk about monthly assignment policies. The monthly assignments are going to include research assignments, PhD preparation assignments, meetings, and evaluation activities. The monthly assignment prompts and activities are going to be sent on the first day of every month via email and Facebook group. And I know that some of the PhD preparation assignments are going to be a little bit more complicated. And if that's the case, I'll also be attaching a short video explaining how to complete the PhD preparation assignment. In terms of due date, unless otherwise stated, monthly assignments are due on the last day of every month at 11:59 Pacific time. And of course, you can always submit your assignments before the deadline. So I know that with some of the months, especially November and December, the deadlines are very close to holidays. And I know for some students, it might be difficult for them to work during the holidays. So if you're that type of student, it might be better for you to submit your assignments before the holidays begin. In terms of your weekly workload, we are expecting you to commit 5 to 10 hours per week to your assignment. So please plan accordingly, because it's going to be difficult for you to complete an entire month's work of work in like 1 week or like in a couple of days, right? In terms of how you want to submit your assignments, you just want to have your, all your monthly assignments are going to be in like one single Word document. And you just want to make sure that you attach your Word document to an email, and you email it to your graduate student mentor, your faculty advisor, and me all in that same email. In terms of late submission policy, scholars are allowed to scholars must turn in 6 out of 8 monthly assignments on time. And for a monthly assignment to be considered on time, you must submit all of the assignments that are due that month on time. So for example, let's just hypothetically say that in December, you have 5 assignments. And if you only turn in 4 out of 5 assignments on time, then the December's monthly assignment is considered late, right? Because you are missing 1 assignment. So again, just to reiterate, there is no partial credit. It's either you turn in all of your monthly assignments on time or you don't. And then, of course, scholars can use a 1-week extension for 2 out of 8 monthly assignments. If you feel like you need an extension, please email your graduate student mentor, faculty advisor, and me all in the same email, letting us know that you're going to be submitting that monthly assignment late. In terms of getting feedback on your assignments, graduate student mentors will read and provide feedback during your meetings. The mentor is not expected to read or make comments on the monthly assignments outside of the meeting. So in other words, they're not going to come prepared to the meeting already having read your assignments and already come to the meeting with like this elaborate list of comments already written, right? So during that meeting, it's probably going to be the first time that they're actually reading your assignment and the first time that they're going to provide feedback. So keep in mind that the amount of feedback that the mentor provides is limited because they only have 45 minutes, right? If you want additional feedback, you should request feedback from your faculty advisor, the writing center, or if you're in the honors program, request help from your honors program. Okay, so let's talk about meeting policies. So scholars are required to meet with their assigned CC to PhD graduate student mentor once in November and twice per month from December to June via video conference. So 15 meetings total. You're also required to meet with your faculty advisor once per month from December to May, 6 meetings in total. You're also required to meet with your community college counselor or transfer center staff 2 times. And then I know initially I said that you had to meet with me, the program director, 4 times throughout the academic year, but this is no longer a requirement. It is optional. In terms of your graduate student mentor meetings, scholars must meet with the graduate student mentor once in the first half of the month and a second time during the second half of the month. And the meetings with graduate student mentors are structured. In other words, there's a prescribed broad topic that you must discuss during each meeting. So hypothetically, let's say like in one meeting, you had to talk about your research instrument. So all of your questions and discussions and topics need to be about your research instrument. It can't be just about some random thing. Does that make sense? So again, like I was mentioning, each meeting has a general topic that needs to be covered. Even so, the mentee still needs to come prepared to the meeting with a list of questions and subtopics they want to discuss. And these questions and subtopics must relate to the meeting's general topic. So the first meeting of every month, let me just scroll down. So the first meeting of each month, you get feedback on your research assignments, but you can't just say, here's my assignment, give me feedback, right? That's putting the burden on the mentor. Remember, there's only 45 minutes and they can only provide so much feedback in a limited amount of time. As such, you should ask questions and solicit feedback about specific parts of your assignment, right? So let's say for one of your research assignments, you're designing an interview protocol, right? You can't just be like, okay, look at my entire research instrument and give me feedback on everything, right? There's not enough time for that, and that's being very lazy on your part. You need to ask questions about specific parts of your interview protocol. So for example, you can say like, oh, hey, is the order of my questions, does it look good? Or another question could be like, oh, I think this question is leading. What do you think? Or another question could be like, oh, like, I wasn't really sure if this question made sense. Does it make sense to you? Right? So again, you want to make sure that you come prepared with questions and subtopics that you want to discuss, right? You can't just come there and say, like, give me feedback. That's it, right? During the second meeting of each month, you're going to present a rough draft of your upcoming monthly assignment and ask for guidance on how to successfully complete that assignment. So again, you can't just say, give me feedback on my rough draft of my research instrument, and can you teach me how to design a research instrument? So again, you have to prepare questions about specific parts of the assignment where you need guidance on. You can't just be like, okay, I'm coming to the meeting and my mentor is going to give me like a 45-minute lecture on how to design a research instrument. They're not going to do that, right? So again, the mentor is not going to plan a meeting agenda or prepare a 45-minute lesson for you. They're not tutors or lecturers, they're advisors. Also, something else that you should keep in mind is that you should take control of how you would like to spend the 45 minutes. In other words, prioritize the most important topics and questions first, and the least important topics and questions last. And keep in mind that the questions and subtopics must relate to that meeting's general topic. So let's say that for one of your meetings, you had to talk about your research instrument, right? And let's say that you finished talking about it and your mentor has nothing else to say about your research instrument, but you have like 20 minutes left in your meeting, right? If you have like extra time, what you should do is that you should use the remaining time in the meeting to discuss other topics, right? So you can talk about like, let's move ahead in my research project. Let's talk about future steps for my research project, or let's talk about PhD prep. Or let's talk about other topics that the mentor is okay with talking about. And unless otherwise agreed upon, the meeting with your graduate student mentor will take place via video conference, specifically Zoom. So let me scroll down. In terms of your meetings with your faculty advisor, they're unstructured. So in other words, there's no set theme for each of your meetings. So your meetings with your faculty advisor are much more flexible in terms of what you discuss. But of course, these meetings are meant to supplement the graduate student mentor's meetings, right? So what does that mean? So let's say that you're meeting with your graduate student mentor and you weren't able to get enough feedback because you ran out of time. So the next time you meet with your faculty advisor, this might be a good time to say like, okay, so my graduate student mentor was able to provide feedback on my first half of my assignment. Can you provide me feedback on my second half of my assignment, right? Does that make sense? Or let's say that your graduate student mentor was teaching you about how to recruit research participants, but you still have questions left after your meeting, right? You can go to your faculty advisor during your once-a-month meeting and be like, okay, so my graduate student mentor, she taught me this, this, and this about how to recruit research participants, but I still have a couple of questions. Can I ask you that? Does that make sense? So again, these meetings with your faculty advisor are unstructured and they're meant to supplement the graduate student mentors meetings. And I just want to give you guys some information about my office hours, which again are optional. And I just want to reiterate, there's no like punishments if you don't attend my office hours. They're completely optional, right? So first off, you don't need to RSVP or make an appointment to attend my office hours. So I'm going to be hosting virtual office hours every Sunday from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. And it's going to take place via Zoom. And you just need to click the link that's provided. In terms of my physical office hours, I'm going to be holding office hours during the lunch break in the CC to PhD Saturday Academies and 1 hour after the CC to PhD Saturday Academies end. So I listed the times here. So let me scroll down. So if these times do not work for you, I might be able to schedule a video conference appointment with you at a different time. But just keep in mind that my time is limited, and I strongly prefer that you meet with me on Sundays from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. or during my physical office hours at the CC to PhD Saturday Academies. And again, if you aren't able to attend my office hours, you can always post general questions for me on Facebook, or if you have like a very personal question, you should send me a private email. So there's several topics that we can talk about during my optional office hours. So I'm willing to provide guidance on completing the PhD preparation assignments, and I'm also willing to provide feedback on your PhD preparation assignments. And I'm also willing to talk about anything related to PhD preparation in general. So any topic that's like, how can I, as a community college student, or how can I, as a community college transfer student, prepare for a PhD program? Even if that PhD preparation topic is outside the scholars program, I'm perfectly fine talking about it. I'm willing to answer questions about the scholars program, and I'm willing to resolve issues and answer questions about your faculty advisor or graduate student mentor. However, there's several topics that we can't talk about, right? And I know, like, as I'm going through this, it's going to sound like totally harsh, and it's going to be like, wow, David's so mean, right? But the reason being is that I don't want to give you the wrong advice, right? So it's like you wouldn't go to a barber to ask your barber to fix your house, right? Does that make sense? Or you wouldn't go to your butcher to ask him to do your hair, right? Does that make sense? So in terms of a research project, I can provide clarifications about the instructions, but all the questions should go to your faculty advisor or your graduate student mentor because they're much more knowledgeable about your discipline and much more knowledgeable about your topic, right? So in other words, I'm not going to teach you methods, I'm not going to give you research advice, and I'm not going to provide feedback on your research assignments. Also, I'm not going to talk about policies and procedures at your community college because there is staff at your community college that are much more knowledgeable than I am. And also, I'm not going to talk to you about your transfer application. Again, if you're interested in getting help in your transfer application, you should talk to your community college counselor or community college transfer center staff. Okay, so let's talk about Zoom. So Zoom is a video conferencing platform that is free, it's easy to use, and it's very reliable compared to other video conferencing platforms. Most of you guys have already, if not all of you guys, have downloaded the necessary software at Zoom.us already because that's the platform that we used for the CC to PhD scholars and CCS scholars interview. So one of the cool features about Zoom is that it allows you to use screen sharing, and essentially screen sharing allows your graduate student mentor to see a document or window on your computer. And that's what I'm doing right now. I'm using screen sharing so that you, as the viewer, can see my Word document. And I attached a link, and that link's going to teach you how to use screen sharing. The reason why I'm not showing you in this video how to use screen sharing is that I use a Mac, and I know that Zoom, the way that you do screen sharing is going to be different based off of your operating platform, right? So if you're using Windows, it's going to be different from the way that from a MacBook, right? So just go on the link and it will show you how. It's pretty easy. Another cool function is that you're able to record your meetings and rewatch your meetings. So if you're interested in recording, just make sure that you get permission from your graduate student mentor before you begin recording them. And the reason why recording your meetings might be helpful is that sometimes you're not able to write down all the feedback fast enough and your graduate student mentor is giving you all this great advice and they're saying all these smart things. Sometimes it's just helpful to be able to rewatch it and be able to actually like kind of decipher what it is that they said, right? So I just noticed that when I was interviewing some of you, that some of your Zoom, the audio and video quality was kind of spotty, and it was kind of hard to hard to hear you guys or to see you guys. So here's some tips on how to improve your video and audio quality. So first, use an external microphone. So the computer's internal microphone is going to sound too hollow, and it's going to sound too far away, and it's going to be hard to hear. So you don't need an expensive standalone microphone. You can use a headset with an attached microphone or a $10 headphone earphones that have an inline microphone. So again, I attached some pictures. This is a headphone with inline microphones, and that's what I'm using. So I'm using earphones, and this is like my microphone. Another tip is that you're going to need to wear headphones and earphones to avoid feedback/echo. So never use your computer speakers, as this is going to cause feedback and echo, and it's really, really annoying for the other person in the video conference. If you're using a laptop, use an Ethernet cable to improve your internet connection. So Wi-Fi is slow, relatively speaking, and it's pretty spotty. If you don't have an Ethernet cable, get as close as possible to the Wi-Fi modem or router as possible for a better signal. And if you're using Wi-Fi, you probably already own an Ethernet cable. The Ethernet cable is probably already attached to your router, because again, most internet routers come with Ethernet cables already included. But in the off chance that you don't have an Ethernet cable already included with your router, then you can just buy one. It's pretty cheap. It's like $5 to $10 on Amazon, or you can buy it in a brick and mortar store. Another tip is that you should close all internet browsers, pause downloads, and turn off any programs that may take up bandwidth or CPU power, as this will degrade your Zoom connection. To engage in the smoothest possible meeting, close any applications you don't need to use for the meeting itself. Also, make sure that you adjust your light. Make sure you have like a lamp or other light source behind your monitor pointing towards you, and that you don't have too much light behind you. If there's too much light behind you, then you're going to look pretty grainy, and it's going to be hard to look at you. The final tip is make sure that your background is stationary. So if you can see my background, it's just a wall. There's nothing moving behind me. If you're in like a bustling coffee shop, or if you have family members moving behind you, you should probably move somewhere else, right? The more motion that's in your shot, the more work Zoom's going to have to do, and the choppier your video is going to get. So let's talk about program evaluation policies. So all scholars are required to participate in 4 evaluation activities, and the purpose is to help us understand the efficacy of this program. So program participants have to participate in a pre-intervention survey, a pre-intervention interview, a post-intervention survey, and a post-intervention interview. However, we are seeking your permission to use your anonymized evaluation data for research purposes. In other words, your permission would allow us to use your anonymized data for research publications and presentations. So I just want to reiterate that when we do research publications and presentations, we're not going to have your name in it, right? Because everything is going to be anonymous. If we don't get your permission, the anonymized evaluation data will only be used for internal purposes at UCLA and for grant reporting purposes. As a small incentive, we are providing $100 to scholars who grant us permission to use their anonymized evaluation data for research purposes. If you do not grant us research permission, then you will not receive any compensation for participating in evaluation activities. Okay, so let's talk about causes for dismissal. So unlike other programs, I am very strict with program requirements. So again, these program requirements include you must physically attend at least 15 out of 26 individual Saturday Academy presentations, and scholars must turn in 6 out of 8 monthly assignments on time. And again, monthly assignments include research assignments, PhD preparation assignments, meetings, and evaluation activities. And you must present your completed research project at the appropriate CC to PhD conference. So if you're a CC to PhD scholar, you must attend and present at the CC to PhD Social Science Undergraduate Research Conference on Saturday, May 26, 2018, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. So in addition to presenting, you must attend the entire conference. if you're a CCS scholar, you must attend and present at the CC PhD Community College Studies Conference on Saturday, June 2nd from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And again, in addition to presenting, you must also attend the entire conference. If you don't meet program requirements, I will unfortunately have to dismiss you from the program. So let me scroll down. So the reason why I'm being so strict is that I want to be fair to the other scholars who are meeting program requirements. And I also want to be fair to the students who are on the waiting list. So there are 40 plus students that were rejected from the scholars program. So you have to remember that when you're in similar programs like this, that you're in a very privileged position, that not many students get the opportunity to participate in research or prepare for PhD programs, especially as community college students, right? So again, I just want to be fair to the people that are on the waiting list. And the reason why I'm so strict is that I also want to keep you accountable. If I'm too lax, then you may not be as motivated to complete your assignments or attend the Saturday academies, right? But of course, I do understand that things come up, right? You may get sick, emergencies arise, you may have other important events that conflict with the Saturday academies, you may have midterms, finals, papers, etc. for your classes. That's why I built in flexibility into the program requirements, right? So let me just scroll down. So you just have to physically attend 15 out of 26 individual presentations. So that's 58%. So that's like an F, right, in terms of grades. And then from there, you just have to turn in 6 out of 8 monthly assignments on time. So that's 75%. So that's like a C, right? So I don't think it's asking too much, right, in terms of like our standards of like acceptability, right? However, you should only use Saturday Academy absences and monthly assignment late submissions for urgent matters. If you use up your Saturday Academy absences and monthly assignment late submissions frivolously, then you won't have any more absences or late submissions left when an actual emergency comes up. So reminder, even if you have a catastrophic emergency, if you do not meet the minimum program requirements, you will be dismissed from the program. There are no exceptions. So please use your absences and late submissions wisely. So let's talk about Scholars Program funding. So the funds are going to be dispersed via PayPal at the end of the program after scholars have carried out all program requirements. And if you quit or are dismissed from the program, you will not receive any compensation. And in terms of the amount of payment, scholars can receive up to $300. And this $300 is linked to your participation in the program. In other words, by going above and beyond the bare minimum requirements. So scholars will receive, let me just scroll down. Scholars will receive $100 for allowing us to use your confidential evaluation data for research purposes. And you'll also receive $13.33 per individual Saturday Academy presentation that is above the 15 minimum. And then you'll also receive $40 for every monthly assignment that you submit on time that is above the 6 monthly assignments minimum. So for example, if Joe Bruin gave us permission to use his evaluation data, but he only did the bare minimum for Saturday Academy presentations and the bare minimum for monthly assignments on time, then he would only receive $100. Another example, let me just scroll down. If Josie Bruin gave us permission to use her evaluation data for research purposes, and she attended 20 Saturday Academy presentations, so in other words, she went above the 15 minimum, and she turned in 7 out of 8 monthly assignments on time, then she would receive $206.66, and the breakdown is right here. In terms of the rationale, so why are we doing this? So again, like I mentioned previously, scholars must attend at least 15 individual Saturday Academy presentations and turn in at least 6 monthly assignments on time. And if scholars don't meet this bare minimum, then they will be dismissed from the program. So we really want to encourage scholars to do more than the bare minimum and avoid being dismissed from the program, because we definitely don't want to dismiss anyone from the program unless we have to, right? So as such, the Saturday Academy attendance and turning in monthly assignments on time are linked with your total research grant amount, and hopefully it will serve as a small incentive to do more than the bare minimum. Okay, so let's talk about policies related to your research project. So first is the IRB. So community colleges typically don't have an institutional review board that is designated to approve community college students' social science research projects. Typically, the IRBs at community colleges are typically meant for community college faculty and administrators or external professional researchers, so not undergraduate students. Um, and in fact, the HTCC, the Honors Transfer Council of California, does not require its students to get IRB approval. Likewise, many other research conferences, even professional disciplinary research conferences, don't require or ask undergraduate presenters, particularly community college student presenters, to have IRB approval. And for the purposes of this program, we do not require scholars to get IRB approval. So we consider this research project as an educational project. So in other words, activities designed for educational purposes that teach research methods or demonstrate course concepts. Educational projects and the like are exempt from IRB approval. Instead, we're going to require you to get your faculty advisor to approve the research study before you begin data collection. So I just want to let you guys know that scholars are allowed to revise and change their research question with approval from the graduate student mentor and David in me. So let me scroll down. So recall that one of the selection criteria for our program was research interest fit with a graduate student mentor. So your revised research question needs to be in the same broad topical realm of your research proposal. Or if given permission from the graduate student mentor, the revised question needs to align with the graduate student mentor's other topical research interests. So why can't you just like change your research question topic to anything you want, right? So you have to keep in mind that your graduate student mentor chose you for a reason, right? They chose you because you have similar research interests and they want to work with you on that particular topic, right? So for example, if you said that you wanted to study immigration and you put as one of your preferences that you wanted to work with a person that studies immigration, and this immigration graduate student mentor is like, oh, great, I also study immigration and I want to work with that person. But then you go and change your topic to something that's like totally random, like say like environmental sociology, then your mentor is not going to be very happy, right? Does that make sense? So what are some of the, so let me just give you some examples of things to illustrate what are some of the ways that you can change your topic. So Joe Bruin proposed to conduct research on the sociology of animals. Specifically, his research question is, what is the role of dogs in Mexican American families? Jane Doe, a CC PhD graduate student mentor, also studies the sociology of animals and the sociology of aging. Jane Doe and David decides to accept Joe Bruin into the CC PhD Scholars Program. So Joe could probably change his research question to what are people's perceptions of keeping whales in captivity, because within the broad topical realm of his research proposal, sociology of animals. And Joe could probably change his research question to what are Mexican American immigrants' experiences living in senior living facilities, because it is within the graduate student mentor's other topical research interests, sociology of aging. And I say probably because, again, you need to get approval from your graduate student mentor and to change your topic. So how much data collection is enough for an introductory level research project? At least for this program, you just need to collect either 5 hours of interview data, 5 hours of observational data, or 25 survey responses. And you must get approval from your graduate student mentor or me if you plan to use a different method. So I just want to go to the monthly assignment timeline. So the monthly assignment timeline is going to list every single month, and it's going to list what you need to do for that month. So for November, you have monthly assignments that are due on Thursday, November 30th, the last day of the month. So again, you can see all the different assignments. Typically, you'll have like research assignments, you'll have PhD preparation assignments, you'll have meetings that you have to do, and then it'll list like what you need to do during those meetings. And then you also have to do Saturday Academy makeup sessions. If you like miss any of the Saturday Academies, you have to watch the Saturday Academy recordings online and then write a summary. So again, all of these activities or assignments, these are all things that you have to do by the end of November. And then if you scroll down into December, these are all the things that I'm highlighting in blue that you have to do for December. Um, and again, let me just go to a different month that's like a little bit more easier to see. Um, so again, for February, these are all of the things that you have to do for February. So it's pretty self-explanatory. I'm not going to read you every bullet point because I've already like bored you to death with my verbatim reading. But I do think it's a good idea just to read over the timeline, just to kind of see like what to get a better idea of like where the program is taking you. So yeah, that's the end of the program orientation video. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to post your questions on Facebook and I'll provide any clarifications that are needed.